Good evening. Welcome to Freedom Mentor Live. I'm coming to you from my property in the Florida Keys. I'm also joined by Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Hey Phil, how are you?
I am great. Yeah, I'm on my annual semi vacation down here in the Florida Keys, and so not my normal studio setup. So we're gonna have some fun tonight, Brian. We're gonna be talking about rural investing. Let's make sure our people can hear us, they can see us. We have brightest greetings from Boston. Okay, great. Yeah, let us know where y'all are coming from here. And for those of you who don't know where the Florida Keys are, it's south of Miami. It's a series of islands, an archipelago. Michael from Wisconsin, Cynthia from New York, Draylon loud and clear from Waco, Texas. Great. Draylon, little known fact, the last name Pustiovsky. There are far more Pustiovskys than Smith in the phone book, and a community north of you on I-35 West, Texas. That is the epicenter of Pustiovskis. Venice, Florida. Tom Gates from California. Welcome back, Tom. Xavier from Texas. Oliver from Western Australia. Is that right? Excellent. Oliver, I'm a huge fan of a Christian businessman named Peter Daniels. Look him up if you don't know who he is. A wonderful Christian entrepreneur. And I got a chance to meet him a few times. He came to the States. And he would tell stories about Western Australia. Some really funny stories, actually. Um, all right, Jeff from Colorado. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, again, the topic tonight is about rural real estate investing. More specifically, it's about big profits in small markets. There is so much money being made in real estate in suburban and rural markets, and it doesn't get much attention, but that's why you're on here tonight. You're on here because you want to get an inside look at how it's really done. Because we make a ton of money in this business, and the people we've mentored are incredibly successful. We have a special guest tonight named Tony who operates in rural environments. And so he's going to share a little bit about how he does that. So you'll learn a little bit more from him too. And the fact of the matter is, I love that very few people talk about this. I love the fact that there's so much money being made in creative real estate in the areas where most people would never look. And so we're going to share with you some great insights on this. All right, let's get to know our audience a little bit here, Brian. Y'all share with me in the chat your favorite musical artist. Your favorite musical artist. Who do you love? I went to I went to a movie last night, Brian, about the story of Michael Jackson. And what a fascinating life. What an extraordinary entertainer. And just when you see that movie, you realize just the creative genius that he was, the force, the tour de force of creativity he was in music and dance. Not my favorite artist. My favorite artist or band is, you guessed it, Brian, Leonard Skinner.
Oh, love it.
So obviously, I love the Southern rock. I love a lot of music, by the way. I mean, I love whether we're talking rock, Southern rock, classic rock, country. But hey, I love reggae. I love bluegrass. I love blues. Uh, it's very little music I don't like. But Leonard Skinner. Let me tell you why. One of the reasons why I love these that band, and I'm talking about the Leonard Skinner of the '70s. These guys worked so hard. Very few people know this. They weren't a jam band. They weren't like when you think of a lot of those rock bands, even going back before their time, people like Jimi Hendrix. Um, they didn't have that creative genius. So they had to do it through hard work. And they would practice like 10 hours a day in the blistering Jacksonville, Florida sun and heat, just practicing the specific songs they had written. And so when they got out there and they went out and to put their first album together, the producer was shocked that they got the song on the first take. They couldn't believe it. And they said, "Well, we've been practicing this for 10 hours a day for a year. We better hit it on the first." So I love that about them. They were hardworking. They weren't necessarily the most talented, the most gifted, but they made it happen. And of course, their music was amazing. How about you? What's your favorite or favorites?
One of the top for the last number of years has been Mercy Me. I don't know if you're familiar
Uh-huh.
with them, but
Yeah,
they're a
yeah,
great
yeah.
band.
Hmm.
I saw who was it? Was it James or Keith? Kevin said Brad Paisley. He's definitely on my list. But I'm like
Uh-huh.
you. I love a lot of different kinds of music. And I was at a wedding this past weekend and got to hang out with my nephew a little bit, who was the DJ. And so getting to go through and pick songs with him all night long was a lot of fun. There's so many great artists. And I'm like you. I love a lot of different
Yeah.
types of music.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list here. Eric Clapton. Oh my goodness, do I love Eric Clapton. Oh my. Presley, Santana. Yes, yes. Brad Paisley. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this name. Oh, that's a big Oliver in Australia. I don't know that one, but it could be wonderful. Ozzy, Sabbath on up. Yeah, I mean, I like that stuff too. I mean, I'm just, yeah, that is one of the things about music. Depending on the mood I'm in, there's so many different genres I can absolutely love. So, are we talking real estate? Brady said, "Yeah, we are talking real estate, big profits in small markets." Um, and so, one of the things you can do in small markets is you can do things you can't do in bigger markets. There's types of opportunities you can operate in, and but let's find out where the audience is coming from. So first, let's ask this question. What type of area do you live in right now? And I'm gonna bring this all home in just a second as to why I'm asking this. What type of area do you live in right now? And I'm going to share the results. Brian, what do you think it is? How many do you think live in urban? How many do you think live in suburban? And how many think live in rural in our audience?
I mean, I think the vast majority are typically going to be suburban. It's kind of what we have to do to
Yeah.
get to work, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like me, I'm semi-rural. I'm just far enough away to I can get where I need to go, but I've got a little more quiet, although it's changing.
All right. Get this. A third, a
Wow.
third, a third. How cool is that? Jose just said the Eagles. By the way, I love the Eagles too. Golly, I love them. Uh, how about that? So our audience, y'all are right down the middle, urban, suburban, rural. All right. Now here's the next question, Brian. And I hope this works out to my plan. Where do you want to live? Not where you live now. What type of area do you want to live in? I hope this works the way I'm thinking it works, Brian. Because if it doesn't, it'll ruin my whole plan here. This is live, everybody. So you just never know. Where do you want to live? There's a song. I should figure out a way how to play it. Called "The Outskirts of Heaven." It's a country artist in Texas singing about how when he goes to heaven, he wants to live on the outskirts of heaven. That's where he wants to live. He
Wow.
wants to live in the country. All right. Well, phew. Okay, it worked to what I thought. The majority of you all are suburban and rural. In fact, the majority of you are rural. Okay, that brings me to the biggest point and why this is going to make so much sense for you all to understand today. Um, and you can see this right on your screen, Brian. Why rural?
I can.
Yeah, less competition. There is far fewer real estate investors trying to do deals in rural areas. And here's the bigger point: growing demand. This is one of the first things I learned when I started flipping houses. I learned that most home buyers want more land. They don't want to see their neighbors. They want privacy. Now, they don't get it. What they get is builders shoving a bunch of houses into tiny little lots because the builder is trying to make as much money as they can per square foot of the land, and so they tighten as much as they can. There's a Brian, there's always a battleground between politicians and builders on density, on how many units they can put in per acre. And of course, there's all kinds of backdoor deals, right? As we all know, that happens. And so, meanwhile, the irony of the whole thing is while politicians are looking for money under the table from builders in order to get higher density, buyers don't want that. They don't. Buyers want more land. They want to be able to spread out. They might early in their careers might be more urban because they want to be closer to whatever their career is. But that quickly shifts once they have kids. And look, the majority of people are having kids by their early 30s. The majority of people's lives, they are in a mentality, they want to get out of the hustle and bustle and they want to be more rural. And so we have growing demand. We have growing for another reason too, Brian. It costs less. Interest rates have stayed high, y'all, for years now. And according to the most recent resources that I have been researching, it appears that rates are going to remain high. In fact, there's a possibility. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. The Outskirts of Heaven song. Yeah, that's a good one. That rates might even go back up. And I know that Trump has installed his new pick for the Fed chair, but it could happen. So with rates where they are, if not potentially higher, affordability is super strained, and people are being pushed outside the metro area. And this is a big country, y'all. It's a big, big, big country. There is so much ruralness. Yes, we have some urban centers, but when you look on the map and you look around, there is more suburban and rural real estate, far more than there is urban. So the opportunity is huge. And the demand continues to grow. I see demand continuing to grow more and more and more as affordability continues to be strained. And just the sheer fact that now, get this, more and more people are working from home. I mean, I'm at a vacation home right now. It's very common. People are working from home. So that means they can work anywhere. And now you have Starlink, which gives you great internet from anywhere, literally anywhere, right? So Oliver, oh my goodness, I'm just gonna have to toss this out. You met Peter Daniels and his son Graham. Wonderful people. Okay, I'm so glad. I am so glad. For you all, if you look up Peter Daniels, I had Brian do this recently, actually, didn't I?
I did. Yep.
Look
Watched it
up
all.
Peter J. Daniels on YouTube. Go watch a playlist on him. He will rock your world. And by the way, him and his team did a video on talking about the Federal Reserve and the way our monetary system works. He was predicting gold would be at the price that it is right now. Fascinating. And he did it. He said it was all based on biblical economics. All right. So if this is why we go rural, everybody, now let's dive into where you're going to make money in rural. There's three big profit centers, everybody. Listen carefully. Three big profit centers in rural investing. And Brian and my team with Freedom Mentor, and you'll meet Tony here a little later, and so many of the people we've mentored, we've made so much money in these three profit centers. The first is single family homes on acreage. I've got a great story for you. You're going to absolutely love it. Single family homes on acreage. The next is manufactured homes. Manufactured homes is a sweet spot because they cost less than a stick-built home, but they fulfill the same need. They provide the roof over the head. They've got the 3 bedrooms and the 2 bathrooms. You know, they've got the home. And there's a niche I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you a niche about how you convert a manufactured home into a permanent foundation that can accept conventional financing. That is printing money, is what that is. Cynthia says Claytons are awesome. Yeah, that's the Clayton Homes out of Tennessee. That manufacturer does do a great job with their mobile homes. They sure do. And then lastly is land. There's a lot of money about in flipping land. I'm going to teach you about that here in a second. All right, let's talk about single family homes on acreage. You all, I got to tell you the story. 5537 Hargrove Ridge Road in Franklin, Tennessee. So I was living out of my truck in Nashville, Tennessee, and another investor who was very successful. I had met him through a real estate investor club meeting. He had gotten a call from a guy who was looking to sell their house. It was this house. And this person had built his dream home. This was his dream home on this 16 acres of land. And unfortunately, he had borrowed all this money to build the house, and he put in more than he should have. And all of a sudden, he lost his job, fell behind on payments, and after back payments, he owed more than 300,000, and the house wouldn't sell for that much. He listed it with a real estate agent, and it had been listed for almost a year at the time that he called this friend of mine who was an investor. A friend of mine looked at this and said, "Ah, this thing has no equity." He didn't know what a short sale was back then, this other investor. And he said, "Phil, you asked me to send you any of my scraps." I literally did. I was like, "Please give me the scraps on your table, Dan." So Dan sends this to me. I call up this seller, and the seller says to me, Brian, he says, "You can just have my home. You can just have it. Just pay off my loan. I am behind. I don't want to go to foreclosure. I'm already moving out. I've had this thing listed for a year. If you'll just take it from me, I'll give it to you." And I'm brand new to investing. And I'm hearing this, and I can't believe it. At that same time, I had run into this gentleman who became my mentor, who changed my whole world. This guy, Dan, did not help me. He didn't want to teach me because I was in his local market. This mentor was visiting Nashville because his mother was going through cancer treatment. He lived on the beach in Miami Beach, but he just happened to be in Nashville at the time. So this guy, while he was in between helping his mom, wanted to go flip a few houses. And so the Lord brought us together, at least that's my belief. Lord brought us together, and he goes, "What do you got?" And I said, "Well, I've got this house in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. It's upside down, so I don't really know what to do with it. Another investor gave it to me. What do I do?" He goes, "The guy will just give it to you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, I smell an opportunity. Go meet him." So here it is on the, y'all can put it in your maps too. 5537 Hargrove Ridge Road. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I can give you kind of okay, so here's Nashville way up here. This thing, and especially back then, there was no cell service. First of all, this is back in 2003. There wasn't a lot of cell service back then anyways, but you had to drive down 65, get through Franklin, go up 96, then you had to come down here. By the way, this is the Natchez Trace. Feel free to look that up someday. It's a very famous parkway where you can ride your bike, of all things, Brian. You can ride your road bike. That's absolutely gorgeous.
I
My
don't
dad
think
rides his
we're
bike.
seeing your map, Phil.
Oh, you're not seeing my map? Oh, goodness. Thank you for telling me. You gotta check it. You're not seeing my map. Man, you're missing everything. Hold on. I'm just gonna share that whole screen there. All right. So here's our map here of where this is at 5537 Hargrove Ridge Road. Again, there's Nashville. You got to head way south in 65, crossover in Franklin. Then you got to go down this road here, and then you got to get on this other road. And I remember driving, and I got onto this old Highway 96. I lost cell service about here, and I keep driving. And now I'm nervous because we didn't have Google Maps like we do today. I'm feeling like I'm lost. I turn here. Look, the Honeysuckle Farm Stand. We are out there at this point. And then I get onto this road. I'm gonna see if I can't get us onto Google Streets here. Yeah, look what I see, y'all. An old garbage truck, and it stunk. And by the way, this is from 2008. Thank you, Google Streets, for showing a 2008 image because I'm sure this is not here anymore. So that's on this side of the road, and on this side of the road is the driveway. And you see how it goes way off into here. Back then, by the way, this was cleared. This grew up since then. And so I drive down this whole driveway, and that's when I came up to this house. And after that long driveway, you come up to this house, and I meet with this seller, and he signs the paperwork because that's what my mentor said. He said, get it signed up. And I said, well, how do I make money? He said, don't you worry about that. You'll get it signed up, Phil. Just go do that. So I did that. I couldn't believe it. I was 22, 23 years old. This guy just signs his house over to me. By the way, at that time, it was not worth 1.15 mil. He was overextended at 300,000. That's the thing about real estate. Best time to buy it is 20 years ago. Next best time is today. So then he tells me, he says, all right, we're going to negotiate a short sale because there was a second and a first mortgage. We're going to negotiate a short sale, Phil, but here's what I need you to do. In the meantime, because you need money, because you don't even have a roof over your head, you need to put a tenant buyer in there, Phil. So you need to go put up some signs all around the area and that say rent to own. And I was like, okay. I put up these signs, and I remember, whether it was Old 96 Highway, it was here on the old Hillsborough Road. I put them all around here in Franklin. And Franklin, there's a nice little old downtown Franklin there, and I'm putting these signs up all over the place, and I got a ton of calls. And I would with what limited money I had, I paid the gas to drive out here, and people would follow me down this road all the way out here to this house. And where is this thing? I already lost it. Where'd it go? There it is. And we'd lose cell service. Well, it was like the fourth person I'd taken out there, and the first three had said it was too rural. It's too far out. You'd use the phrase, it's out in the sticks. It's too far out there. The fourth person I was already convinced they weren't even going to want to see anything. I'd look through my rearview mirror to see if they're still behind me because they had to follow me all the way down this. And I got to, I'd get to the part where they're right there in front of the house, and I'm so nervous because I'm like, oh, he's gonna see that stinky garbage truck as we come around this bend here, And anyways, they come here, they drive down this driveway. Of course, by this time, Brian, I can drive down that driveway pretty fast. They're going real slow just to soak it all in. And then I pull up to the house. So I'm already up here, kind of looking down on them. And I see a family of deer prance right in front of their truck. It was like on the movie Funny Farm. Hear the deer. It was unbelievable. They didn't even walk in. They said, how much to secure this? And I said, well, you said on the recording that you had $20,000 to put down. If you put that down today, this is yours. I've taken a lot of other people out here. There's a lot of interest. He said, deal. Who do I make the check out to? And by this time, I was like, did he just say yes? You make the check out to Philip Pustiovsky. Let me spell that for you. And then after they wrote the check, then they walked in and they looked inside the house. They saw the back porch they loved, and they saw the cathedral ceilings in the living room here. And it's still, had the carpet. I mean, I think this is what it looked like back in those days. And I ran to the closest Regions Bank there in Franklin. And I remember bringing that check to the cashier, having him cash that check. And I was just freaking out. I'd never had $20,000 in cash in my possession. I was worried someone would take it when I went to my truck. And it was a game changer. That deal ended up all told. I got the $20,000 up front. They moved in. I made like $600 a month in positive cash flow for a year. And then when they bought it a year later, I made another $56,000. It was unbelievable.
Nice.
Rural, everybody, rural. Single family homes on acreage. People love this stuff. And then meanwhile, the sellers feel stuck. It's a match made in heaven. Huge money there. That was my first deal with my mentor, was on a rural deal. Hargrove Ridge Road, 2002, 2003. That's what got it all started, Brian, right there.
It's awesome.
On the outskirts of heaven, right there.
I just want to know if that garbage truck's still there.
I do too. Yeah, we got to get an updated view. Someone's got to drive out there if they're in Tennessee. The second one is manufactured homes, everybody. This is a huge, huge, huge money maker. Cynthia says people in New York City want country homes. You bet they do. Yep. So manufactured homes, everybody. This is what happens. People buy mobile homes. They buy land. They put the mobile home on the land, and then they're happy. But what they forget to do is retire the title, and therefore, when they go to sell it, they can't sell it with conventional financing. We've done so many deals like this where we buy the property based on the fact that they never retired the title, meaning they never connected the mobile home to the land from a county records perspective. It's not on a permanent foundation. And if you're in Florida, you also have to strap it down. There's certain straps you have to do. But most parts of the country are not in a hurricane zone like Florida. So you retire that title, and now when you sell it, they can go get a conventional loan. Now they can't get a rural a USDA rural loan unless it was built after 2006. Write that one down. But so long as it's built after 1976, they can get a conventional loan. So you buy, even if you're paying full price, even if it's a listing, you're basically paying retail, but then that one change can add 50, 80,000 in value because now someone can get a loan on. They don't not just pay cash. So what we do, our formula is we do with manufactured homes. Again, there's all kinds of different circumstances, but if it doesn't have a retired title, we retire that title, certify that foundation, and then we sell it conventionally. By the way, Stephanie is going to drop into the link mobile home flipping formula. She just dropped you that link, everybody. That's the formula. That is an absolute home run. We've made so much money over the years on this. I've never heard any other real estate trainer ever talk about this. And it's such a no-brainer. Well, we love to do that in rural areas. And even some suburban areas have that too. All right, the third big profit center is land. Land. There's so many people that want to own land, and flipping it is so much easier. You don't have to worry about someone living in the house, right? It's vacant. Now you do have to know the land better than the seller. And I'm not going to have time here tonight to go through all of that, but I'm going to drop that in the comments as well. Stephanie is 10 tips for buying land. Those 10 tips are so valuable. I own over 250 acres, by the way, y'all, throughout the state of Florida. And so I'm extremely well versed in buying land. And buying land in Florida is arguably the most difficult because we have to deal with wetlands and flood zones, two different things. And then there's so many different zoning rules because Florida is cramped for space as it pertains to buildable land. There's a ton of land in Florida, but a lot of it's not buildable because it's all swampland. And so I'm a great resource for land, and our team is. And flipping land is such a huge profit center. Oftentimes, the people that own the land inherited it, or they don't want it anymore. They don't want to pay the taxes on it anymore. And being able to remarket the land is about just a few key items. And of course, we have those tips in buying land right there. And that's one of the things we mentor on. You see, it's not always what you thought, right? It's not always a single family home. Sometimes it's a manufactured home on its own land that needs to have its title retired, and sometimes it's just raw land altogether. I'll tell you where land gets difficult though is in urban areas, because now it gets real complicated. That's more on the commercial side. My father-in-law deals with that. In fact, Brian, I maybe didn't tell you about that. My father-in-law puts together deals for major big box retailers. Sometimes he'll help put a deal together where Target goes in, and then maybe one of the out parcels is a restaurant, or maybe it's a Walgreens. And that stuff takes 3 to 5 years to do. It's super complicated, and everything has to fall together. Whereas in rural areas, you're flipping land, it can be done pretty quick. In fact, on my grandfather, shortly before cancer took his life, he flipped land, and he was bragging about it while he was essentially almost at the level of hospice because he had picked it up at 3,000 an acre and he'd sold it for 11,000 an acre. So proud, right? So proud. He said he sold it to a city slicker. That's what he said. He had fairly he paid 11,000 an acre. You know, this is off I-35 in Hillsboro, Texas. Who would ever do that? So, yeah, you all, I hope this gets you excited. You see how excited I get. There's so much opportunity in rural investing, and those are just three huge winners, all of which just print money. Um, I've seen in my 40K an acre. Yeah, I mean, look in Florida, if you're getting land at 30,000 an acre now, it's a bargain. I picked up my stuff largely in the I haven't picked up anything land wise since 21, but I mean, most of my land I bought in Florida was under 10,000 an acre, and some of my deals were 6,000 an acre. So yeah, but I definitely know what I'm doing, so I know when to slide in there and pick that stuff up. All right. So I want to transition and get you all inside the black box of someone who's doing it right now. Besides us leaders, people that have been in your shoes. I'm going to introduce you to Tony, and he'll share with you what it's like to invest in more rural areas. But this is a hidden secret, y'all. Many of America's most successful investors make a lot of their biggest profits in small markets. But why don't they tell you? Because they don't want the competition. They'd rather everybody be fighting for deals in downtown Baltimore than, than go out into some rural area. All right. Well, let's bring on Tony, everybody. Tony, come on down. You are the next contestant on the Real Estate Price is Right.
Hey,
Tony, yes, you're with us.
hey, Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome, welcome. All right. So you heard us. You heard my story. Did you ever hear that story before about with the deal with the garbage truck across the street?
Yeah, and the deer.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that story from when I don't know if it's in your book, maybe.
Okay. It may have been. May
I
have
think
been.
that's might be where I heard that story. Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
fun to hear that again.
I told that story to a deer hunter friend of mine, and he was so disappointed that I didn't have a rifle with me.
Yeah,
So, you're in a rural area, Tony,
I am.
and you graduated in our program, meaning that total you made net profits of a half million, half of which was shared with us. So you
Yep.
made $500,000 in net profits in creative real estate in a rural area.
Yeah, I
So
sure
it can
did.
be done.
I sure can.
All right. Well, what are some of the things that come to mind? What are some insights that people wouldn't ordinarily think about when it comes to rural investing?
I guess I probably have to cast a wider net.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
I'm like eight or nine counties I'm marketing
Yeah.
in versus I suppose in urban you could one county probably have
Sure.
plenty population, but yeah. So yeah, I find myself maybe driving a little bit farther
Yep.
than some people, but I don't mind that.
Now, to set the context, you're about a 2.5 hour drive from a major airport?
Yes. Well, actually there is one, I don't know if you'd call it a major airport, but that's about an hour and a half away.
Okay.
So I actually flew to Florida from that airport one time. So
Okay. You can
I
get
guess
Allegiant from there?
it was what was it, Sun? Sun Country or something.
Okay, like they get the hand-me-down plane, so you have to just pray.
Maybe yeah, it probably wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So,
so,
but a major airport with your Deltas and
yeah,
your
yep,
American
that'd be
Airlines,
yep
the
over
ones
two
that the
hours.
taxpayers bail out. Yeah, like the bailout airlines,
Okay.
you're a good 2.5 hours away. So, did you ever think about at some point, man, maybe I should move to the big city?
Well, I mean, I thought about it, but I wasn't going to.
Right, right. Like, there's opportunity there, but man, I love living out here, right?
Yeah, I think and then, yeah, the grass probably just looks greener. I think there's plenty to do around here, so
Yeah. So, what do you love about living in a more country rural setting?
I just don't like I just don't like big cities and all the people and all the I like to be able to get out in the country and I like to get into hunting a lot too. So
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I guess so. I grew up on a small dairy farm, and what I liked about that was, we could shoot any guns we want
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah.
It's just so, there's miles before you would see another farm. So even on the flat prairie. So
So, for those on the chat, how many of you all like fishing and hunting? How many of you all like, and if it's not fishing and hunting, like nature walks? How many of you all like to get out and be a part of nature and fresh air? Because that's something that you get, right? You almost take it for granted at times until you go to the big city and you're like, man, I I can't deal with this very often.
yeah.
So what
Yeah.
about the big traffic jams, Tony? What happens when there's another car in front of you at a stop sign? You get like
You
road rage? What's with all the traffic?
Yeah, no. I guess this time of year there's a lot of tractors and farm machinery on the roads that you gotta slow down for, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that Craig Morgan song, "Chugga Chugga Chugging," where he's chugging on his tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean if you have to get stuck behind a tractor, you might be in the country, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Now, uh, some of my land that I own, Tony, is on dirt roads, and they do that because there's a lot of horseback riding,
Okay.
and the county could very well pave it, but the all of the owners just beg for the county to leave it unpaved. Do you have unpaved roads around you?
I live on a dirt road.
No. Oh yeah. That's beautiful.
And I didn't grow up on a dirt road, but yeah, I've
Yeah.
traveled many and many a dirt roads.
Yeah. So you've got the fishing, you've got the hunting, you've got less traffic, but you did bring up a good point. And I think it's a good point for everybody that y'all you do have to drive a little further, because you have to expand your horizon. There by virtue of the fact that there are less, parcels per acre. That means there are just less overall units. And it takes a certain amount of sellers to get a motivated seller, right, Tony? I mean, you have to have a
Yeah,
enough
but
people.
this kind of driving, you're out driving through like farms and by lakes, and it's just
Yeah.
nice scenery. You're not stuck on a interstate in the middle of the cities and traffic jam and 90-degree weather and no air conditioning.
You know what?
I've
That's a
actually
good
been
point
there.
because Brian, when you have to go to the Big D, it's not just what it shows on the Google Maps, it's the traffic too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this goes back to your question on music and why I need to be listening to Mercy Me so that I keep myself calm.
Yeah, I mean, like especially in the Metroplex, there's a stoplight about every quarter mile, and
Stop.
and if you get off that interstate to try to get to a house, you're 30 minutes anyway. So, I mean, I love your point, Tony, because even in a urban environment, you still got a lot of driving time just to get to a house. It's just not very productive driving time. It's sitting in traffic.
I like how you bring up stoplights. There's actually one county that I advertise in. There's not a stoplight in that entire county.
It's beautiful. That is beautiful.
That is-
Now, another thing that's important is access to the MLS, Tony. Does your MLS extend to all those 9 counties?
Yeah, it's the whole state, and it kind of goes into Wisconsin a little bit too.
That's beautiful.
I think there is another one that's kind of like up in the Duluth area, but I don't get up that way too much.
Yeah. I see that is beautiful. And that's something I'm so thrilled about, Brian. Again, we've been at this thing so long. I've watched these MLSs consolidate. It's like hallelujah. I know
Yeah.
Florida just made a huge move and they just consolidated all of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, Port St. Lucie. It's become the largest MLS in the country by the number of realtors and the number of houses and listings. And so now you can just cover a huge swath. And for you to have the whole state, that's awesome. So you don't have to go, how do I get MLS access here? But that's the thing you have to deal with, y'all, rural. If you got to have MLS access, there's just no way, there's no way around it. And if you can't get that MLS, there's a couple of ways we do it in our program that ways that we get around some of these problems, but um, rural can be a problem there if you don't have for the whole state or for that region. Okay, so you definitely got to throw cast a wider net. Let's talk about contractors. In big cities, when you have thousands of contractors, I've literally put videos together about how not to get screwed. Because contractors, I mean, a lot of them either they just got out of prison, they hired a former criminal, the people they hired are on drugs. I'm not kidding. I was driving past a van the other day, a plumbing van. It said, "Our employees are drug free." If you have to put that on your van, clearly you're in an industry where
Yeah.
there's a reputation like your staff members are on crack. So, tell us about working with contractors in rural areas, Tony.
I was actually just talking about that today with the guy that I was working with, and he was talking about how he got screwed on a house that he sided. He never got paid, and we were just talking about how rare that is around here. And figured, like down in the cities, that probably happens all the time because they can just head to the next suburb
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
you don't hear about that much.
In that case, it's not like the contractor got taken advantage of, but by the homeowner not paying them. Yeah, I have found as you get into rural areas, contractors are far more likely to do what they said they would do. And it's because in a small town, people talk, word
Yeah.
spreads. And they know that their reputation is everything. So Brian, when I started doing some more of these rural deals and I bought some of this land in Florida, of course, I'm coming from that perspective. Every contractor is trying to screw me. And thank you, Stephanie, for posting that. How to find great contractors. Yeah, just go out into the country. I should have put that in the video. I couldn't believe, I was like, man, this guy did exactly what he said he was going to do. Oh, this person did too. Oh, wait, what's going on? I'm like, what are they doing? What's their real angle? Why are they being honest? And yeah, yeah, you if you're in the country, you have a responsibility to do the right thing, because you don't have as much business. You got to be careful. So yeah, I feel like it's easier to hire contractors. Now you still got to follow the basics and not put yourself in a position to totally get screwed. But so contractors can be easier. What about connecting with sellers, Tony? What is that like in a more rural environment versus a more urban environment?
I'm not sure. So connecting with sellers, you mean like just getting seller leads?
No, like the fact that they typically don't have as many people they're talking to. So it's
Okay.
a little bit different conversation than if they talk to 8 investors this afternoon.
Yeah. So when I first got started, it was, I didn't notice any competition. really to speak of. But now in the last year or so, it seems like there's a couple more that have been getting out in this area here, and it's been a little bit more competitive actually. And I just gotta remember what you said about having that staying power, so
Yeah.
I can't give up. I gotta
Well,
keep getting in there. And
that's an example of they've realized the opportunity is away from that major metropolitan area.
yeah,
There, it's if you picture it like the yeah, like the animals in the savannah looking for water. You know, they're going further and further out. So yeah, but even still, even with a competitor or two, it's still not even the same conversation as a metropolitan area
yeah,
where when you meet with that seller, you're not dealing so much with them feeling like they have a ton of options. They're just a lot easier to negotiate with
yeah,
because they don't have that many options. And
yep,
oh, makes it so much easier. Makes it so much easier when you can say, hey, look, like the example I gave earlier, where the person had it listed for a year and couldn't sell it. They know that their neighbors' houses aren't flying off the shelves. Maybe in 2021 that was the case, but it's not the case now. And so with houses sitting on the market, you know, they sellers are easier to deal with in rural markets. And I think especially for beginners, right, Tony, it's a little easier when you walk up to that seller for the first time and they're begging for you to buy their house versus, so who are you, Mr. Tony? You know, and they have this arrogance about them like they have the Taj Mahal.
yeah.
Now, what have you found as it relates to generating motivated seller leads? Are they lower cost in the rural
Yeah,
area?
yep, way lower. I know from one source I'm paying $75 a lead in most
Yep.
counties, and I hear people on some of these coaching calls where they're paying like they want to charge them up to like 400 bucks or more
Uh-huh.
for leads. It's like, what?
Yep.
Well, how would you ever? I don't know how that would work.
And the crazy thing about it is the people that are having, because of their market, are having to pay $400 or $500 a lead, a quality lead. They can still make money, make good money, but the profits are not that much bigger there than the
Hmm,
ones that are you're paying 75 a lead.
sure.
The profits are still huge in these rural areas. So your lead costs are lower, easier to negotiate with sellers, easier to work with contractors. But there again, I know you're talking about the positives, but there are less investors, Tony. So you don't flip as much to other investors, do you? A lot of times you get it into a situation where it can be sold to a retail buyer, right?
That's my favorite when that works out. Yep, for sure. I think I may have sold some to, I know I did for sure one. They showed me the rehab they were doing, but yeah, mostly it's retail buyers.
Yeah.
I do
That
believe so.
that's a big part of the retail model. If you're not flipping raw land, if you're selling to someone who's going to buy the home, yeah, you could flip it to a local contractor. There are a few of those out there. But the real bulk of buyers for your rural deals are retail buyers. So there is a little bit of fix up that's required. And so if you have to get on title, it's almost imperative that you have all the tools of creative investing that we teach because most of you aren't going to have the kind of finances to be able to always close the traditional way, whether with hard money or with your own money, to buy all the deals that you need to do to have the flow to make the kind of money that you want to make. You've got
Right.
to apply creative techniques. And I think they're easier to apply those in rural areas as well, the creative techniques. But you do have to be able to get on title. It's huge. You have to be the owner so that when you put that money in to fix it up, there's no way that they can pull the rug out from underneath you. So I hope you picked up a couple of key points here, everybody. I mean, a lower cost of leads, easier to negotiate with sellers, um, huge profits can be made, but you might have to drive a little bit further, although it's a pretty drive. You see a pretty part of the country.
Yeah, at least it is in
Um,
my state.
yeah, and you get and you have to be willing to do what it takes to get the property in a condition where it can be sold to a retail buyer. And then, of course, your other benefit is you might just land upon your dream home. Like, man, I like the home I'm living in, but this one here, it's happened a lot, hadn't it, Brian? Our students have bought their dream homes through this program.
Yep. And occasionally was subject to an owner finance.
That's what
Absolutely.
that's what I'm hoping for, actually.
Yeah, you're on the lookout for that right now. I remember, Brian, there was one that bought a property. I'll never forget the street name, Squirrel Island Road.
Nice.
Yep. I remember
Yeah,
Patrick.
yeah, and they were a little squirrely too. Those folks were. It was a good fit where they live. Um, so Tony, a typical deal. Walk us through like a typical deal, or maybe one of the more recent ones you've done.
Oh, I guess my most typical deals are in some of the smaller towns that are all surrounding me here. And so I'll pick like the one I picked up for 60 grand, and then I don't know, I put a couple thousand into it, and I actually sold that one. And speaking of retail versus selling it to a rehabber, I had a bunch of rehabbers that wanted to pay like 125. They wouldn't
Mhm.
go any higher than that. And I was able to clean it up just enough to find a retail buyer, and I sold it for 145. So that
Yeah,
was awesome.
yeah. 60 to 145 with a little bit of fix up.
What a
Yeah,
difference.
that's what they sound like, y'all. It's happening. Those deals are around you all. Everybody who's here with us, they're there. They're happening. You can do those deals. That that has been our bread and butter is deals where, and I know those sound like low numbers for some of you, depending on different parts of the country, but even if you put a zero on the end of those, that's still happening. Rural areas, there are huge opportunities. And you get to live in an area you want to live in. You want to be surrounded by people you want to be surrounded by. You get to hunt, get to fish, you get to be out in nature, get to hike, get to cycle. Brian, I can't imagine people being on a road bike in an urban area. Um, and people do it. You see them, right?
Yeah.
And they're
Yes.
just,
Yeah. The further out you can get, the safer you are. Absolutely. So that's another upside.
yeah, the Tour de France is not in Paris, and it's not all the way through downtown Paris only. Yeah.
Not until they shut it down.
Yeah.
But Tony, thank you, Stephanie. You posted Tony's story there, which is there's a lot more detail on your journey. But there's another video that Tony, I highlighted a number of your deals. It was actually a video how to turn 10,000 into 100,000, and you
Hmm.
were one of the ones that we focused on, Tony from up north. And it took you 4, 5, 6 deals to get there. But what really stands out or sticks with me is what you just mentioned. You weren't rehabbing everything. You had a bunch of it. What was like 85 or $200 in? I remember
Yeah.
between your, filing a document and cleaning it up and listing it.
Yep.
So, you really found some properties that didn't require a ton of rehab. And plus, tell us this, do you find that buyers, when they're buying these rural properties, are a little more forgiving? They're ready to maybe take on a little more DIY themselves.
I think you got a lot of DIY people around here.
Yeah. That's what I've found.
That's kind of what it's like around here. You get a lot of people that are kind of the jack of all trades and a master of none, and they're willing to take on stuff like this for sure. It's kind of what I've been doing in the past.
Sure.
I really wouldn't have even thought of that until you mentioned it, but you're so right. I love that point. That's another huge win. I know for some of you all that are not full-time investors, you may not see why that's such a giant win. When you don't have to go crazy, full renovation like an HGTV show with the perfect pillows and all that mess, or like what I got behind me, my wife just like that painting was way too expensive right there. You have to do all that mess, right? That is beautiful, right? You got just enough for them to say, Hank, we can go paint this once we close. That's a great point. Yeah, that is another big, big win. So, so Tony, what's it feel like to be able to make a great income, live where you want to live, have a lot of flexibility in time for your hobbies? What's that feel like to be Tony?
I think it's a relief to know that I don't have to go to some big city to try and make a bunch of money. I I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we all have one short life, everybody. And I encourage everyone to go find their passion and to live and to enjoy this gift God's given us of life. And if you want to live in a rural area, you can make a ton of money. I remember, Brian, when I had first looked at moving to where I live in Florida, um, I went on some of these forums where people were talking about what it's like to live in that community. And the big complaint was perfect beach town, wonderful place to live. It's like Mayberry. Everybody would love to live there. The problem is there are no jobs. And I was like, check, got that problem solved. I can make money anywhere. And that's what we can do with creative real estate investing, everybody. What Brian and our team with Freedom Mentor, what we taught Tony is an entire discipline, an entire profession that works everywhere, works extremely well, and it works consistently. Tony, you've been doing this a while, right? When did you first start investing with Freedom Mentor?
I believe it was 2019.
2019. A lot's changed in our world in 7 years, but not
Wow.
our business. It is thriving as much as it ever has. Now there are always little changes to real estate, and when we stay on the cutting edge, but the foundation of it always works. So this is something you can sink your teeth into and you can really set roots into. And then as the years go by, you can build that life you've always wanted to live. So if you would like to learn more about Freedom Mentor, about our program, about the program that Tony joined, that has created the lifestyle that he has created the profession that he loves and he enjoys. If you'd like to learn more, click yes here to learn more about being mentored by me and Brian and the team. Our program is a done with you model. We do deals together. We get in the trenches with you. Brian and myself are in the trenches with Tony on each of his deals. And other team members too, right? Susie worked a lot with you too, right, Tony?
Yep, and Michelle.
And Michelle. We have a great team. Everybody has mastered the art of this business. And like Michelle, for example, Tony, she moved from a big city. She lives in a beach town now. She's living the dream. She's and Susie very similar as well, where she moved out to. So we practice what we preach, and we do deals with you. And a lot of people ask me, well, Phil, if you all are so successful in real estate, and Phil, I provide funding for deals, and I've funded a few of Tony's deals. If you have all this money and you have all this success and you have all this flexibility and you have all this freedom, why would you teach me? And the answer is because we are going to work together on deals and we're going to both win. And this allows Brian, myself, our coaches, because our coaches share in those in that too. It allows us all to win. And I loved a phrase that Zig Ziglar once shared. He said, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And so that's been our model. And that's how we've created such amazing results. So we're not a course. We're not, here's a couple of videos and good luck. We are an interactive relationship that helps you do deals. We get inside of each deal and say, okay, here's what we should do here. Here's what we should do there. Whether I'm looking at Google Streets, whether I'm looking at comps on the MLS, we help you every step of the way. And ultimately, we turn you into a money-making machine, like we've done for Tony here. And Tony still interacts with us, so we still sharpen his blade a little bit now and again. And ever so often, Tony will toss us a couple of good ideas that we haven't heard, because he's out there coming up with new ideas too. And so together, we help our people become incredibly successful, and we do it as a team. We do it together. So to learn more, click yes. And for those of you that said yes, how would you like for us to connect with you? We can connect with you right now. We have some team members that are available right now. And if you select right now, it's pretty cool technology with Zoom. Our team can give you a call. Or If we're getting to the top of the hour, if you're looking at your clock saying, Phil, I'd love to connect with you guys. Just right now is not the right time. Then schedule for later. And I'll show you exactly where you can schedule for later in just a second. So to connect, just let us know how you'd like to connect with us about our mentoring program, about our doing deals with me and Brian and the team, so that you can have an experience like Tony. We all deserve it. We deserve to live a life that we've been called to live. We don't have to stay stuck in some situation forever. Now, where you are right now, you may have to be there for that season, but you're probably being called to something more. You're probably being called to some more freedom, some more flexibility, so you can do things that that you know are going to have a greater benefit to yourself, your family, your community. It's all possible. And this creative real estate and thing that we teach, it's what delivers on that promise. It pulls it off. And it's done it for a lot of people. If you've never been to one of these lives, you can go back to our YouTube, our live tab, and you can look at previous ones. And you can see graduate after graduate after graduate after graduate. Everybody's got a different story. Tony's got a different story than the next person, but they all started with this Freedom Mentor Apprentice program. They all started by getting mentored by me and Brian and the team. Okay, so if you selected schedule for later, what I'd like for you to do is go to freedommentor.com/schedule. freedommentor.com/schedule. We'll also put that link right there in the chat. And then you just select your state, say Florida, and then from there, you select your time and day when you like to connect with our team. It's the end of the month, by the way. So if you want to go into next month, you just click over here into June, and you can select for Monday. So, and we don't have any availability on the 31st. Brian, I turned 46 on the 31st. That's why it's a big company holiday. Everybody can go have fun with their family.
That's great. Phil, I don't think everyone's seeing that screenshot that you're sharing.
Oh, thank you. All right. Yes. So you go here to freedommentor.com/schedule, and this is where you select your time and day to connect with a team member to talk more about this, learn more about this program, how it works, who we are. We want to make sure it's a good fit, because this is going to be a long-term relationship. We're going to be working together, doing deals together until you reach $500,000. That's our program length. It's not a length of time, it's a length of success. We're going to work with you until you hit that goal, because when you have hit that goal, you have learned enough. You are now on your own. You are an incredibly successful investor. You've dialed in the techniques, and you can go do this, and you take a skill with you that you can use the rest of your life. It is incredibly valuable, and it's something that can absolutely change your life. All right, everybody. Well, it has been an absolute blast hanging out with you, Tony, tonight, hanging out with you, of course, Brian, and talking about rural investing. I hope everyone is inspired. I hope you got some good ideas, some techniques that you can take with you that can show you how to make more money. And I hope that the other message you're gaining from all this is that you deserve it. You deserve to live the life you want to live. And if you want to live on the outskirts of heaven, you can do that. You can do that. Well, next up, everybody, I'm going to have a video playing with some other examples. Tony, you might be on that video, but a lot of our examples of people that have graduated from our program, you can hear their story. You might like to see that. Someone just asked a question, Deirdre, do I need a broker's license first? No, you don't. Tony, do you have a real estate license?
No.
Yeah, no. I do have a real estate license. I got it for a different reason, though, not for investing. I got it so that when friends and family wanted me to represent them, that I could get paid, because they were going to pay somebody. Might as well pay me, because the listing agent was already, contracted that commission. And so if it was somebody looking to buy, then I'd help them buy. And so that's why I got the license, and I've kept it all these years. And so I think I'm going on 20 years as a licensed real estate agent. But you don't need it to be an investor, everybody. you can go out there and be the best creative real estate investor ever and never have it. Most of our graduates, most of our coaches, most of our students never got licensed. Good question. And thank you, Barry. 10 plus. I appreciate that. And y'all show some love for Tony coming out here. He could have been fishing this evening. I'm sure there's a hatch popping this time of year in your neck of the woods, Tony. You could have been fly fishing. You could have been catching some trout. But you're here with us. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
And Brian, of course, appreciate you being here as well. Appreciate your passion and love for coaching our people and all the work you did with Tony to get him to where he is. Well, everyone, thank you so much. And I hope to see you all in our program, of course. Hope to interact with you a whole lot through our program. And I hope to see you making some deals out there in the country. And I hope that if you want to buy land and you want to own some land and have some fresh air and see some deer prancing across your yard, I hope you get that too. All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.